What up, people? It's your boy Chig from Gooner Eagle Eye coming to you again with another episode of Eagle Eye, where I talk about the transfer rumours coming from Arsenal and rumours generally to do with the club. Now, first things first, let's go with my lead story. Since I've not heard a single soul talk about it, I thought I would. And that is Armando Izzo is Arsenal's new defensive target. Now 27 years old, plays for Torino, I believe, as a centre-back. 6 foot tall. And yeah, he's a defender that we've been linked with a few times over the years. In fact, if you type Armando Izzo, you'll see stories from 2015. You may see a story from 2017. And that was where he was previously with the previous club, Noah. But he's had a very good season this season. Following, I think Torino finished 7th this season. He was said to be one of the standout performers of that team. 6 foot tall, because Arsenal just have this boner for 6 foot tall defenders, seemingly. But yeah, 6 foot tall, very strong, loves an aerial battle. Almost a very un-Arsenal-like defender in a lot of ways, in the sense that I wouldn't necessarily say he's a ball-playing defender, but he's strong, combative, aerially very good, loves a tackle, quite aggressive, almost like a slightly sharper, more all-round polished version of Socrates. And there ain't no harm having 2 Socrates in the team. So yeah, very good. I do like him. Like him a lot. Performed very well, like I said, last season. Was one of the better defenders in the Italian league. In fact, a lot of people reckon he's the best defender in the Italian league outside of Koulibaly. I wouldn't necessarily go that far myself, but I've said it before and I'll say it again. You will, when it comes to that Italian league, defenders and goalkeepers, man, you can't go wrong. And I like the look of this guy. He's someone we've looked at for a long time, like I've said. And if he can, him along with Saliba, yeah, I'll be happy with that. You know, you bring in an 18-year-old as a man of the future, someone who can long-term replace Koscielny, but then you also bring someone who can hopefully replace Godjo Mustafi. You add a Rob Holding to it, you add a Socrates to it, you send a Mavropanos on loan, you sell Chambers. I think jobs are good, and I think you've done a good job in that defence. This is a guy that is gettable as well. Someone that may cost in the region of about 15 million euros, which is about 12 million pounds or so. So yeah, I'd like to see that happen. Let's see if we can make it happen. This report, by the way, because people always want to know where I get these reports from, it came from Italian outlet Toro News via the Italian newspaper La Stampa. So yeah, it's a story. Let's see. I will say this for Arsenal. If Arsenal are going to make a move for a central defender, it's more than likely going to be something like this. You know, have people look to the right and meanwhile they go to the left and try and get a bargain. So yeah, for me, let's see what happens. Another story that has kind of done the rounds over the last few hours is the Carrasco deal. Looks like the Carrasco deal, probably deep down, if we were all honest, we thought this would eventually happen. And it looks like the Carrasco deal has more or less fallen through. The China club has quoted 30 million. They refuse to come down on that. My understanding is that Arsenal won't go above 22 million for Carrasco. And there is an appeasement there. They just won't. There will not be any movement. There's no budge on either party. I'm not heartbroken if we don't get Carrasco, because I think there are better options out there. Although I'm not all the way sold on Ryan Fraser, I think Ryan Fraser can make more of an impact on the team than Carrasco can. For me, if we're going to spend 30 million on a player, I'd rather we did that on a Premier League proven player like a Ryan Fraser, or better yet, like a Zayet, but I digress. But it's looking like that deal is all but fallen through. Funnily enough, I was just talking to Lee about this story today, and I did say it would not surprise me if Arsenal put out this Carrasco story themselves to have everybody distracted, while quietly they're going to complete a deal for Ryan Fraser, or they're going to complete a deal for Ziyech. Just, it feels like an Arsenal move. And more clubs do that than you think. Trust me. When they don't want to... because usually when Arsenal are interested in a player, everybody's interested in that player. A very good example of this is Alexis Claude Maurice. I can guarantee you, nobody heard of this kid before the summer. But all of a sudden, Arsenal are interested, and suddenly Alexis Claude Maurice has 10 clubs after him. All ranging from Newcastle, Brighton, West Ham, to RB Leipzig, to Bayer Leverkusen. They are all after him. 21 years old, French under 21, just turned 21 actually a couple of weeks ago, or is it a couple of days ago, one of the two. Guendouzi's best mate, so we do have a decent chance of getting him. So far, Arsenal have lodged 2 bids, one for 10 million euros, one for 14 million pounds. They're after 20 million euros, which is said to be about just a little shy of 18 million pounds. And most people think that Arsenal will move to complete that deal. How do I feel about this move? For me, I'm happy on the proviso that this is not the answer to our winger problems. For example, I know we were looking for a winger, so if we spend this 18 million pounds on this winger, that we don't go for anyone else like a Zayet or a Fraser, that's where I'd be disappointed. I think the plan is probably to bring him in and then maybe promote the kids, but I still think we need that one more attacking player just to provide a little bit of service. Because hopefully, he says, we get rid of Ozil, we get rid of Mkhitaryan, and it makes some space for the likes of these people. I'm hoping for Ziyech. I'm hoping beyond all hope for Ziyech. I will do one of these episodes without mentioning Ziyech, I promise. But yeah, let's see. The kid looks good. Look, he loves a dribble, likes to take his man on. 14 goals in 35 appearances. 36 appearances, I should say. I like the look of him. I think he's a good player. A lot of potential. Maybe they might want to try and convert him as a striker. I feel like he has some attributes that I like that may have him potentially looking like a striker. Clearly a Danny Welbeck replacement. I'm happy for me, and I'd like to see what he can do. Another story. Is there any other story? Ryan Fraser. So Ryan Fraser, the story with Ryan Fraser is this. The club have basically come out and said, yeah, he ain't leaving. That they are prepared to let him walk away from nothing. And I think with that in mind, Arsenal will probably rather try and negotiate with him in January and bring him in on a pre-existing contract and then bring him in next summer, or maybe bringing him dirt cheap in January. But yeah, that was a little bit disappointing that they're playing such hardball. It's very clear that they just don't want to let their guy go on the cheap. Arsenal are only prepared to pay 20 million, given that it is last year of his contract. They want at least 30. You can understand that. He's their best player. They want to get as much money as they possibly can. And Arsenal being Arsenal, we're in a position where we don't have money to negotiate like that. So we have to try and nickel and dime exactly where we can. So it is what it is. But yeah, for me, Ryan Fraser, damn shame. But we have to move on. And if there are better targets out there, then we have to go for them. It's as simple as that. Oh, by the way, some breaking news. It looks like Ospina is set to become a Napoli player. The fee has finally been agreed, 4 million euros. And he was on loan at Napoli all last season. Did all right. by all accounts. It was a bit of a surprise when Murat, who is their second choice goalkeeper, came in. And the theory was that they were trying to negotiate a fee down. The agreed fee was 3.1 million, which is about 4 million euros for David Ospina, and they would have been obliged automatically to pay that. Because he'd played 24 games, which is one less than the 25 that they would have needed for him to be, for them to have definitely paid that money. They tried to negotiate the fee down to 2 million. Once they realised Arsenal weren't about that life, basically they just agreed to it. Then they realised that we weren't asking for a horrendous amount of money. So it looks like David Ospina is set to become a Napoli player. Also, next story, I'm going to talk about Lucas Torreira, because I've not commented further on Lucas Torreira since the first comment, where I said, you know, this is probably a nothing story. By the way, I still think it's a nothing story, but I think what is putting pressure on it is AC Milan. They've obviously seen a player that they want to sign, not to mention that the manager that previously was coaching Lucas Torreira at Sampdoria is now the AC Milan manager, and he obviously wants Lucas Torreira, so they've made Lucas Torreira the number one priority. They've made a couple of offers. They've made 35 million, which to me is what what deserves a back slap for such a stupid offer. And then they've offered Frank Kessie plus 10 million for Lucas Torreira. I still say no, and so did Arsenal. I must admit, I'm split with this, because I don't want to lose to Lucas Torreira. I want to make that nice and clear, because people will hear my next comment the loudest. But I want to make that very clear from the outset. I don't want to lose Lucas Torreira. But ultimately, in this situation, there's another thing at play, and that's the wife. Now, for all of those who have girlfriends, who have wives, or who have demanding partners generally, and even you ladies, you ladies know, you run the relationship. Let's be real here. You run the relationship. And when the wife ain't happy, happy wife, happy life is one of the truest statements ever. And ultimately, when your girl ain't happy, she's going to make sure you ain't happy. And in this particular instance, I did think the comment did come from left field. And we've started to find out that Lucas Torreira's wife is Italian. And obviously she wants to go back home. And who can blame her? I said this the other day. The last week alone, all you see is just grey England. If you weren't used to that grey life, it is a culture shock. The way it always rains in here. It's supposed to be June, and I had a blanket out the other day. It's miserable. Having said that, I still think this is a nothing story, because I don't think the club will sell. He's one of the few people we can't afford to sell, and we ain't selling him for 35 million. I mean, the insult. Like, I know we're desperate for dough, but come on. And Ivan should know better. But we know already he doesn't know better. Having said all of what I've just said, if it was a dumb offer, I'd take it. If it was a dumb offer, but I mean it has to be a dumb offer. Like if we're talking 60, 70 million bags, I'd probably consider it. I'm being honest. I would probably consider it. 70 bags, I'd consider it. Because I thought Lucas Torreira did well enough. I didn't think he particularly finished the season well. But I do think he's one for the future. I think he'll only get better. And I think he is a player I would like to see stay and flourish at the club, grow and develop at the club. Because I also think that next season he'll be better. Again, I want that to be clear. But if it's a dumb offer, 23 million for a player that hasn't realised his potential yet, probably will, but hasn't yet, I'd think about it. I would think about it. Considering we only spent 22 million on him, getting that type of return, yeah, I'd consider it. 35 million, suck your mum, is my attitude. So yeah, now Lucas Torreira. And also, let me quickly talk about this story because I don't talk about enough positive things when it comes to transfer rumours. And that is Reece Nelson. Reece Nelson did a very rare interview yesterday where they asked him about a number of things. He's currently at the under-21 championships with England. And they asked him about his future. And he said that, at the moment, his number one focus is the Euros, obviously. But what he's determined to do once the Euros are over is to go back for pre-season, train hard, and prepare to play for, and I quote, the club he loves. So, I love to hear things like that. We don't hear things like that often enough. All we hear about is people who are desperate to stay or people who are desperate to bleed the club dry because they're on a high contract. It's nice to hear a kid just want to fight for his place because his dream has always been to play for Arsenal. And he wants to play for Arsenal. Also, I wasn't even going to mention this story because I was trying to finish on a positive note. But I suppose it does remind me of another youngster we have. And that's Christian Bellic. He was obviously on loan last year for Charlton. Had a very good season from what I can understand. Just turned 21 years old. And he had some very direct comments. He basically came out and said that, he's not spoken to Emre or anyone else in the club. It's just mainly been, as he put it, officials in the club. And all he's focused on is one thing. If he's determined, this is what he said, whatever happens, he most certainly won't be going back to the under-23s. So either he plays in the Arsenal first team or he's bouncing. He said that he's open to a move away from the club if it means first team opportunities. And you know what? I can't blame him. He's been playing week in, week out. He knows that Charlton at the very least will have him if we want. I'd like to see him figure in the club. Put it this way, I wouldn't like us to get rid of both him and Callum Chambers. I wouldn't mind keeping him, especially because I want us badly to get rid of Mohamed El Nene. So I think he is your Mohamed El Nene replacement. Unless you're playing him as a central defender, he has been playing there for a lot of his career since he moved to Arsenal. But I say return him back to defensive midfield and play him now. But that's just my view. But Christian Bellic being very direct. Very, very direct. Now, when I say Ajax are getting stripped for their team, they are getting stripped for their team. I've been talking about Ziyech, and that's my number one transfer target, my number one Ajax player that I want at Arsenal. But there's another one that's also being linked with a move, and that is David Neres from Ajax. He's the 22-year-old right winger, another one who, probably behind Ziyech has made probably the biggest impression. Actually, behind De Ligt as well. Has probably made the biggest impression on that Ajax team. And a lot of the reason that they got to the Champions League semi-final. Very, very good player. Attacking midfielder. Plays on the right a lot. Can play in the middle. Very, very technically good. He has a lot of interest around Europe. Biggest interest is said to be from us, Liverpool, and Chelsea. Obviously, Chelsea currently have a transfer ban. And yeah, he is determined to... He basically says, I try to stay focused on what's happening on the pitch and the competition, excuse me. You probably hear the ad playing of the story that I'm reading. Flipping ads. I try and stay focused on what's happening on the pitch and the competition I'm playing in. I leave those things to my agent to deal with. He said, of course, the Premier League interests me. It's the best league in the world and I've always wanted to play there. But I leave that in God's hands. So he's someone who clearly wants to go. Also, Ajax have actually rejected previous bids for Nares. They've rejected bids from China for about 50 million euros and above. I haven't even said what the fee that they're quoting. They want 80 million euros, which is a little over 75 million. They're clearly not going to get that. But I think if someone was real and they put down like a 50 million pounds bid, hardcore cash, that'd be pretty hard to turn down. Maybe 60 million euros might do it. Especially from a Premier League club, because clearly he wants to go to the Premier League. I think they might that might do the job, quite honestly. We have no chance of this. If we had got into the Champions League, I'd be a little bit more hopeful. And even then, I'd be thinking it's more unlikely. But he's a good player. Good player. Maybe one that, if he's still at Ajax, because you can't imagine Ajax is going to let all these people go. So maybe one that we can potentially target next summer. Hopefully after getting back into the Champions League. But David Nares is the story I was talking about. So anyway, guys, you guys let me know what you think of the stories I've covered today. Does it fill you with any more hope? I did say, guys, it's all about being patient. The 1st of July, you're going to continue hearing stories of us supposedly being close to targets and then them stories falling through suddenly because papers, they got to write about something. It's a long way between now and the 1st of July. So do stay patient. I know it's difficult. It's a little over, it's 2 weeks tomorrow until the 1st of July. So you've got to stay patient. You guys let me know what you think. Leave it in the comments below. If you like this video, crush, destroy, please hit that like button for me. I appreciate it when you guys do that. I'm dropping a chopping block at 9 o'clock tonight. It's scheduled in. And hopefully you guys will agree with this choice of chopping block. I'll come at it because he's been on my chopping block before, but I've come at it from a slightly different angle. So hopefully you guys enjoy that. All right, people, I'm out of here. Take care. Deuces.